And hello everybody, welcome to the Maintenance of Way, a series where you jump from save to save, fixing different locations around the Roads Online map. Today, we're visiting Biggie Shun's save where he needs some help with the Sawmill. Let's go check it out. And welcome to the save, everybody. Now, just before we actually get to the building and all this stuff, I actually want to talk about what is the plan today. What is actually going to be happening? Well, Biggie Shun actually sent me some stuff that needs to be worked on, and let's actually go take a look at it. Okay, doke. Now here is what he sent me. Alright, here it is. I'd like some improvements to my sawmill since it's going to be a major hotspot as usual. The main problems I want fixing in order of severity is the jank switch tree behind the yard in the sawmill, the ad hoc engine facility which needs a coal depot, more local storage, the junction at the east end of the yard, the storage tracks need to be lengthened a little bit, plus or minus adding more tracks. So if we actually go take a better look at the photo, you can see we have something interesting happening. This is the first look. I also have roads extended pulled up just to get a little bit crisper of an image as well. But what did you want? The first thing is the jank switch tree at either end, or I think at the end of the yard, he said. Now the switch tree is just the points of switches here. It's where they're all converging or expanding, so that's easy. We can consolidate that for sure. The next thing he wanted is this facility needs to be reworked into a better placement. He wants more storage and he wants a coal depot there. The interchange here at the east end of the yard and everything, he needs this reworked. That is what we're going to be fixing today. That is the plan. Now let's go back into Roads Online and get a better look. Right off the bat, you may notice something's a little bit different about the sawmill. What is that white thing to the left there? Well, this is where the sawmill usually sits. It's actually turned about 90 degrees, just a little bit more than 90 degrees to the right of where it normally sits. And why? Well, what we are playing on today is a moved industries map. There are actually duplicate industries and there's moved industries as well. So this is where we're going to be working today and getting everything sorted. Now, one thing I discovered in my planning, and just as I was thinking ahead for this, was the freight depot connection will need to be reworked. I'll explain a little bit later, but I just know that when we get everything reworked and sorted and all that, the tracks are going to be shifted quite a decent amount. So we'll need to rework either the connection or almost the entire line. Now, let's go over to my actual map and my planning for this, where I do want to show you guys what's going to be going on. And here we are. Here is the plan for today. Now, it's a little bit maybe not as detailed as you might expect, but it's organized enough for me and I know exactly what we're going to do today. The thing I actually want to focus on is this red and blue junction, what's going on here. Now, usually with the sawmill, there's three parts you have to kind of keep track of. The inputs, the outputs, and where they're going. And why do I say that? The challenge with it is it needs to have 3 loops in one place. Here's the sawmill from my Trackline 101 series. The sawmill is in its normal position. This is how we see it on the default map. And what's actually happening? Well, we have one input over here, a second one from the south, and a third one from the logging camp to the west. And all 3 points have to converge here on the sawmill. Now, more specifically, the sawmill loop from the logging line is this part right here. You can say the handle of a scissors or 2 parts of a cloverleaf. It does this little loop for the logging camp line. The other 2, let's do the blue line, for the smelter, coal mine, and iron mine, they do this loop here. It's kind of like a chat bubble. And lastly, from the southern industries, they go up, around, down, through the cranes, and back this way. So there's 3 loops in one place. I know it kind of looks a little messy and I apologize, but that is the point. There's usually 3 loops in this one place. You don't have to do loops, you can make it a switching industry. But the point is there are 3 points that need to converge here. Now in Biggie Shun's case, we actually only need to worry about 2 points of conflict. One from the south, and then one from the east. And why do I have a green, blue, and red line? Well, green for bypass because he had that originally, so he needed that for something. And then the red and blue. The point of this is it's a junction to connect to the south and connect to the east. And why do both need to go this way is I checked out the map earlier and there is a logging camp to the east and there's one to the south. So we need to have both connections being able to come to the sawmill pond. Same thing with the cranes, is they need to go to the industries in the south and then towards the east as well. So enough about this. This is the plan for today. We need to really work on this junction. That's probably what we're going to tackle first. That's the hardest part. Let's just get it out of the way and we can domino effect everything else. We need to add a loop in here. He had a loop here, probably for turning around, maybe for ease. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to make it a little bit more universal for trains as well. Depending on where the space we have, we might be able to put some extra storage up here for the engines and a little refreshment yard. I don't know. But we are going to just tackle it probably with the cranes right now. Now that we're back in Roads Online, it's go time. I'm not going to show too much of everything. I'm not going to explain everything that I'm doing. Instead, we're going to time lapse and power through it. I may pause every now and again just to say something or whatever the case, but without further ado, let's get into the build. We're at a good stopping point just a few minutes in now, and I'm gonna be done working on this side for a little bit. We don't need to worry about this curve and all the connections just yet. It's actually gonna be rather simple, and I am gonna keep this runaround connection around the side of everything. But again, for right now, we're gonna be done working over here, and actually we're probably gonna start from this point or the other point, and we're gonna work about just converging everything and making sure it all meshes okay. So without further ado, let's jump straight back into it and get started. So a slight change in plans, I'm going to say. I just took a few minutes to sort something and plan things out, and it would really help me if I can start here and rework the main line going over there. The curve is really going to be the issue, and I was looking at it. The curves here look a little wonky. You can see these aren't grouped together, they're a little wavy, and this line just sticks out all the way just to come over here. So I'm going to do them an extra favor and kind of get these looking more parallel, looking more clean, and get all the curves sorted. So let's do it. As I'm working on this curve in this curve section, I'm gonna say one thing I was thinking about is how am I able to kind of do these switch mechanics and get these switches correct. And one thing I was also thinking about more specifically is possibly adding a switch here on the curve, and that's a little bit more advanced, and I want to show you how you can do something like that. With the switches themselves, the turnout radius is around 71 meters, 71 or 77. It's an odd number, but it's in the mid 70s there. But it flattens out here at the end of the turnout. And one thing that actually does is it makes it a little bit wider than 71. So if I make this over to around 90 to 100 meters, so I'm at 100, we go to 90, around 95. You can see it's a little bit better, it's more accurate. And again, it's because it's actually closer to 90, I'm gonna say. And when it comes to building a curve and you want the switch to blend in really nicely, if you stick anywhere between 90 meter radius to 100 meter radius, the switch is gonna blend in really well. You can kind of see it flattens out, but the overall integrity of the curve is still there. So that's one of the tricks I use to getting a switch in place. I actually like this amount of space in between because we can kind of see a clear separation. Not kind of, we can see a clear separation. And all I have to do now is just drag this straight out. What's pretty fun is when it comes to, again, adding that switch, well, 95, and then if I put a left or right facing switch, it's just going to turn out nice and neat over to that area. So 95. That's pretty close. I don't think I'm going to do any spiral curve action. I think I'm just going to replace it just straight up. But enough chit chat. Let's go back into the time lapse and finish this section out. Hey, you. Yep, you. I'm here to interrupt your scheduled programming to let you know we have a sponsor for today. Let's go hear what they have to say.
Did Mommy ever tell you that size didn't matter? Well, she's right. Who needs big and strong when you have Betsy? Coming straight off the line, she's hot with cinders. Who needs length when you have a saddle tank? Hell, tell Deborah to saddle your tank. She comes built with wheels, rods, wood, levers, more wood, a bell, and cylinder cocks. Wait no longer and get your Betsy straight off the line. Ain't nobody waiting on this. Get it now!
So it's been quite a little bit since the time lapse, I'm going to say. What I ended up doing for this connection was I had to cross over the track and then loop back. And then I actually finished the curve and cleared all the trees away. One thing I actually really have to do is connect it back to the line, but that's actually not an issue. You can probably do that right now. It's all done. That curve is all done, connected to the main line. Don't have to change anything else, just clear some trees, and we're done with that. Yay! So we actually got quite a convoluted interchange happening here. I ended up having to do 2 45 crossovers just to make this work. And again, to make this work, I also had to cross over the line originally, then loop back. Now, the terrain it's fine. I mean, it maybe looks a little weird, but it works out in the end. It proved to be a challenge because I was, again, trying to keep true to what he had here originally, just refine it and modify it. And what I had to sacrifice was the curve integrity. This is now a 42 meter curve. Same thing here, 42 meters, and then it flattens out. I was also able to merge everything from the crane. And before I go back into reworking anything else now, what I actually wanted to talk to you about was this kind of strategy. The curve I had originally stuck out a little bit more and meshed perfectly with this rail, but curve radius is a thing and I didn't want to make another super sharp turn. What I had to do was curve the wooden piece first, and there's no stopping you from doing that. One thing I actually want to kind of reinstill and preach basically is there's no rule that you have to start a curve in one area, or this case, this has to be the criteria for you to actually do it. So if you need to make a turn from the crane, then start the curve next to the crane. It shouldn't actually affect. If I actually activate the crane, you'll still see it's roughly centered on the rail, even though it's turning. Yeah, beautiful. The cars will have no problem when it comes to loading any of that. So we have everything merged now, and it's nice and clean, so we can start the yard. Not do any extra meshing like he did here, but one thing we're gonna do is we're gonna keep the line going straight, so the yard will be at a new angle. Now my next problem is actually to get these cars out of the way. So before I delete anything and we jump into a time lapse, what I gotta do is connect one of these rails, get these weird Farley climaxes out, and then pull the cars away. So I'm not gonna show you guys that, I'm just gonna get it done and we'll jump into the next portion of the time lapse. So we have an update. I have put in a few extra facilities, actually all of them for the most part, for refill and maintenance and whatnot. We have a 6-track yard, basically just a carbon replacement of what he had originally. And this time I actually fixed the ladder of switches, if you will, and added a return loop so he's able to turn around any consist, which actually acts like a yard lead, but this way he has an end point where he can turn around at. Then we have another lead to go into the refuel point. A little bit of janky track laying right here to kind of get everything sorted, but it works. The radiuses is not too bad. This is 60 meters and then it's a little bit straight and another 60. Only thing I'm a little concerned about is the height clearance for the sand tower here. So this groundwork is higher than all the other industries, or not industries, but all the other placements. So maybe pause for concern, I'm gonna say. But regardless, everything is connected and we're good here in this department. Now, the next challenge is some engine housing. I think what I'm gonna do is probably switch this off right here actually. Make it go back right and have the engine sheds straight. That way, I can take this line and make it go. But I'm also thinking maybe I should maybe just have this go straight into a turntable. I don't know. I'm gonna think for a minute, try to get my head oriented and figure out what I want to do. And then let's build some kind of engine house. And we are officially done. Let's take a look. We started off quite simply replacing some of the existing tracks. Here at the logging drop-off, we just replaced the double track he had originally. Same thing on the crane side, we just simply replaced the track he had originally. The next step we did is we replaced this little junction here connecting the freight depot mainline, the east-west connection, to the sawmill itself. We had to get pretty creative with how we organized the tracks. I had to use 245 crossovers just to make this section work, and didn't try to change the overall look of it, just repurpose how he originally did it. And that's going to be the trend for this entire series, is I will never try to completely redo something, but instead go off what I was given. The case here is we have this, I'm gonna say, runaround line from the main line. So if you don't want to go through the sawmill crane, or let's say there's somebody loading there, you can go around the bypass lane. Same thing here, we have a bypass lane going straight to the yard. He was a little concerned about the connections between the yard and the double truck. Well, simply put, I used that other line as a runaround, and it just merged here. They all merged to the single point, and then the yard begins. To the right, this is our roundhouse lead. This will go straight to the roundhouse, where engines can be stored, and then some extra tracks here. From the roundhouse, we have some 2 parallel tracks that go into our maintenance area, maintenance station if you will. We have sand, coal, water, and firewood, all which a train can need, and it has the ability to load as well. Next to that, we have our main yard. 6 tracks over, I believe it's close to 300 meters in length for most of them, around 260 I think for one of the shorter ones. All of which dead end into this return loop. So if you wanted to, you can take your engine or train and be able to turn around here at the sawmill. Instead of trying to worry about the space and making it compact and putting a loop here or whatever the case might be, I decided to put it at the end of the yard. This way, you also can kind of get a look at it. You need to travel through it, maybe converse, whatever the case might be, traverse the territory. Overall though, I believe this has taken me around 3 hours, I believe 2 hours 40 minutes in that area, but I'm gonna say 3 hours for all intents and purposes. The thing I'm actually most proud of is this curve right here. Like just this nice, beautiful curve that's barely interrupted by anything. Looks really good, and the spaghetti that unfolds is really satisfying to look at. There's only two spots I'm going to touch up. It's just the curves here between these 2 points and then the curve going into that trestle right there. Those are the only 2 spots I'm going to touch up. Everything else though, that is done. They're set in stone. I cleared all the trees, put the logging cars and the climb axes back into where they need to be, and yeah, we are all done with the sawmill. We're coming to the close of the video, and if you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. And if you're looking to submit a map to be worked on or just have some extra help with your save in some spots, you can go ahead and submit your save into a Google folder down below in the description. But if you're not really too familiar with that, go ahead and message me on Discord. My DMs are open. If you just want to add me and send me a message, just be like, hey, saw your video, I need some help with this. We can definitely talk about that, and I can either post it on YouTube or just help you behind the scenes. All the necessary info will be in the description, so go ahead and check it out. Now, for the last time, again, thank you for watching, and since you made it this far, consider liking, subscribing, and ringing the notification bell. Alright everyone, that's it from me. My name is Kiss, and I'll catch you next time.